Welcome to the MS-DOS 622 installation tutorial. Currently, we cannot be held for any damages, loss of data, hardware damage, or any other form of damage or misuse of this tutorial because your inability to understand or comprehend this tutorial. This tutorial is given as for educational purposes only. If you do not accept these terms and conditions, please stop watching this video at this time. Okay, this tutorial will cover the partitioning, formatting of said partition, and installation of MS-DOS 622 on that freshly formatted partition. First off, we must start off with the three original 3.5-inch floppy disks that came in the retail box. Insert the 3.5-inch disk 1 floppy disk into the floppy drive. Then start up your computer. As the system boots, you will see the starting MS-DOS logo, and then the Microsoft MS-DOS 622 setup utility will auto-launch. At this point, we need to exit the setup utility because we need to partition and format the hard drive. As prompts on the screen indicate, to exit the setup utility, you must press the F3 key. The new prompt says that in order to actually exit the utility, you must press the F1 key again. Otherwise, you can hit escape to return to the setup utility. But in this case, we must exit, so therefore go ahead and press the F3 key again. At this point, we'll be at the MS-DOS prompt. We must type fdisk and press enter. This will bring up the fixed disk setup program. To create the partition, you must choose option 1, create DOS partition or logical DOS drives. Press enter. Then we will go to the next menu, which will bring up three options: create primary DOS partition, create extended DOS partition, and create logical DOS drives. At this point, we only need option 1, create primary DOS partition. So select one and press enter. At this point, it will ask you if you wish to use the maximum available size for the primary DOS partition. We do. So select Y and hit enter. At this point, the partition has been created, and at this point the system will ask you to press enter to restart the system. At this point, do so. Now as the system boots, it will boot off the floppy and once again load into MS-DOS and then start the setup utility again. At this point, we will now need to exit the setup utility like we did before, pressing F3, then pressing F3 again. Now that we're back at the MS-DOS prompt, type format, spacebar, C:, then press enter. At this point, you will get a warning. All data on non-removable disk drive C will be lost. Since this was a non-partitioned clean hard drive that we started with, there is no chance of loss of data in this tutorial. As far as your system, I cannot guarantee that, and no way am I held responsible for any loss of data for you continuing with anything shown in this tutorial. At this point, I will proceed with the format by pressing Y and enter. Now that the format itself is complete, it's asking for a volume label. Enter a volume label that is less than or equal to 11 characters. I will call my volume my DOS, and I will hit enter. Now that the format is finished, it tells you the total disk space, the available disk space, and the allocation units used. At this point, now we need to get back into the setup utility. You can either type setup or just reboot the machine at this point. My rule of thumb has always been to restart the machine after formatting the hard drive, just so that the OS has the new information in the system memory table. Restart the system. The computer's now loading once again, and now we're back in the setup utility. Now at this point, we wish to actually do the setup, which, as by the screen says, to set up MS-DOS now, press enter. So we will press enter. Now, as you can see on the screen, we have multiple things that we can actually select. We can select the date and time, we can select country, keyboard layout, or the settings are correct. You will need to select your options that as you see fit. Then when you are done, select the settings are correct to continue the installation. Then press enter. The next screen will bring up setup will place your MS-DOS files in the following directory. The default directory that MS-DOS will bring up is C:\DOS. If this is the path that you wish to use, you may go ahead and press enter at this time, or you can change it to another path that's on C drive that you wish to use. But most programs of this age all referred to the DOS directory for locating DOS programs, so it's probably best just to use the default settings. So at this point we will hit enter to continue with the default settings, and we will start installation of the files from disk 1. Once those files are done copying, the setup utility will then ask you to insert disk 2. You must remove disk 1 before inserting disk 2. So at this time, please remove disk 1, then insert disk 2, then press the enter key when ready. Now that the files are copying from disk 2, it will then stop to ask for disk 3 as prompted here once it's ready for the files that are located on disk 3. So once again, eject the disk, then insert disk number 3. Once you've removed the disk and inserted disk 3, you may now press the enter key to continue the installation. Now that the installation appears to be complete, it's saying remove disks from all floppy disk drives. Do so. Then press enter to continue. Now MS-DOS setup says it's complete. You can at this time press the enter key to restart the system, and then as the second part states, you can type at the command prompt once the system finishes rebooting, help spacebar what's new, to get a list of the new features that are in MS-DOS 6.22 compared to previous versions of DOS. We will now reboot by pressing the enter key. MS-DOS is loading, and we're now at the C prompt. MS-DOS has finished installation and has been verified that it's installed. You can type MEM, which will display the amount of free RAM to MS-DOS just to verify, and voila. That concludes the MS-DOS installation tutorial. Thank you, and you have a great day.